Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the SWUS. Continuing on with college football week 2. Got a Big 12 matchup here. Kansas on the road. Illinois. Let's go.
Welcome to the SWUS. The SWUS. SWUS. Hey, get the SWUS.
All right, like I said, Kansas is on the road at Illinois for this one. Illini catching 5.5 points at home. Total sitting at 55.5. So let's get into this one. And why don't we start by looking at last year's matchup? They played week 2 last year. This one was at Kansas. Final score 34-23. Jayhawks got the win. So now, obviously, we're in Illinois, and we'll start by looking at the Kansas offensive numbers from last year. And obviously, they're impressive. As if you watch college football last year, you know Kansas had a very impressive offense, one of the best offenses in the country. 6th in yards per play, 9th in success rate, 5th in PPA. They were a great rushing offense. They were a great passing offense. Although they didn't pass as much, they were still incredibly efficient, both running the ball and throwing the ball. That being said, I do have some concerns about the Kansas offense entering this season. First of all, the OC's gone. Kotelnicki, he's gone. He's with Penn State now. They bring in Jeff Grimes, who's been with Baylor the last 3 years. And you know what? That might be a great hire. But in terms of week 1, week 2, counting on this Kansas offense to come out and put up 50 points on the road in these conference games, it's a tough ask. And keep in mind, Kansas did take some losses on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, they bring back Jalen Daniels, who missed most of last season, but he's back at quarterback. They got Devin Neal back at running back. They got some receivers. They got the tight end. They have all the fantasy football positions. So at first glance, you're like, oh, Kansas brings everyone back. They're loaded. Well, actually, look at the offensive line. They lose the entire left side, the left tackle, the left guard, and the center, all gone from last year's unit. And the left tackle and the center, they were both all conference. So they lose their 2 best offensive linemen. And this offensive line was huge, a huge part of the offense. This is one of the best run-blocking offensive lines in college football. So I'm a little concerned with Kansas taking such heavy losses on the offensive line. Sure, all the skill positions look great, but if the offensive line is losing their battles up front, makes their job a lot harder. Now, we did see Kansas play a game already against Lindenwood. Jalen Daniels looked excellent. He did throw an interception on the second drive, but I mean, it was his first time playing in 11 months, so let's cut him some slack. Other than that one interception, he looked very good. 150 yards, touchdown, almost 10 yards per pass attempt. Again, it was Lindenwood. As far as running the ball, Kansas looked unstoppable. 331 yards on the ground, 7.5 yards per carry. Again, this is Lindenwood. It's not like we would even notice if there are issues on the Kansas offensive line. They played Lindenwood. So will it be the same story on the road in Illinois? Now, Illinois' defense last year was definitely disappointing. They're missing their guy. He's over at Purdue now. They're DC. Defensive numbers took a hit last year. If you rewind back a couple years, this was one of the best defenses in the country with Witherspoon at corner. I mean, they were loaded. Took a huge step backwards last year, lost a ton of production. Hopefully this is a step back towards where they were in 2022. But you could see against the run, 39th in yards per carry, 85th in success rate, 87th in effective rush. Defensive line, not great. 105th in defensive line yards, 93rd in stuff rate, 34th ranked run defense. But as a whole, this defensive front compared to 2022 to that unit, not good. Now, it gets even deeper than that. Illinois' defensive line from last year got crushed. The top 4 are gone. This graphic says 2 in the NFL, but really 1 got drafted, and the other one, I think he got cut, so I think it's just 1 in the NFL. But still, they lose their top 4 defensive linemen from last year. But like I just got done explaining, Kansas offensive line isn't in great shape either. So I'm not quite as worried about this as I would be if Kansas had 4 starters back on the offensive line. So both the Illinois defensive line and the Kansas offensive line both got gutted. But if you look at the rest of Illinois' defense, it's actually looking pretty good. 3 of their 4 linebackers are back. I believe they bring 3 starters back in the secondary as well. I think it's both safeties. So yeah, defensive line is a concern, but the rest of their defense is looking pretty solid. Overall on this side of the ball, by no means am I saying Illinois' defense is going to shut Kansas down. There's just too many playmakers, but I wouldn't be surprised if Illinois' defensive front 7 is able to give Kansas run game a little bit of a hard time, force Jalen Daniels to make plays with his arm on the road. I mean, he hasn't played in a road game in a full year, conference game. I wouldn't be surprised if Illinois' defense is able to give them some problems, certainly early in the game. Now, on the other side of the ball, we got the Illinois offense, and they definitely took some hits. I believe 3 of their top 5 wide receivers are gone. The tight end is gone. RB1 is gone. He transferred in conference, actually. Just 2 starters gone on the offensive line. So they are bringing back 3 starters on the offensive line, which is huge because Brett Bielema is a very successful head coach when it comes to developing NFL offensive linemen. In fact, check this out. This comes from Phil Steele. Now that Nick Saban has retired, Brett Bielema has sent more offensive linemen to the NFL than any other head coach in college football. So the fact that Illinois is bringing back 3 offensive linemen from last year, that's solid because there's a good chance 1 or 2 of them are going to be NFL kids. Yes, I know losing the running back, losing the tight end, losing some receivers, I know that's concerning, but I think the offensive line is going to be in good shape. And they bring back the quarterback, who is the most valuable player on this offense. If you look at Illinois' offensive metrics from last year, they had a solid passing attack. 46 in yards per pass attempt, 24th in success rate. They were rated 30th in effective pass. Like I said, Luke Altmyer is back. Here are his numbers from last year, and yes, these don't look great. Just under 1,900 yards. He only played in 8 or 9 games, so he didn't play the whole season. 13 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. And you might be thinking, it's not that great. But you got to keep in mind that earlier in the season, when he first got the starting job, his second or third game, he threw 0 touchdowns, 4 interceptions against Penn State. He had an absolutely terrible game against Penn State. And if you take that game out, these numbers actually look pretty good. I mean, if you really pull up Luke Altmyer's game logs from last year, took over the starting job, and his first 3 games were rough. I mean, especially that Penn State game. He had never started before. He had no experience as a starter. So he took over as the starter, had a few rough games. But look at the rest of his season. He really got comfortable. In fact, he had a couple really nice road wins at the end there. So I really like that at the end of the season, Altmyer seemed to be playing his best football. And the opener this year kind of picked up right where he left off. Granted, didn't play anybody. Threw 205 yards, 9 yards per attempt, 8.9. 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. So off to a great start this year. Also, I like that he had more success at home last year throwing the ball. Check this out. Illinois last season, 16th in the country in passing success rate at home. So secondaries were having problems coming into this stadium and stopping Altmyer. I like that. We know Kansas defense isn't anything special. Here are the metrics. 88th in yards per carry allowed, 107th in success rate, rushing, 69th in yards per pass attempt allowed, 103rd in pass defense success rate. Look at the defensive line numbers from Kansas here. I mean, not good. 120th in pressure rate, 130th in stuff rate, not great against the run, not great pressuring the passer. And check this out. Kansas defensive front 7, 5 of the 7 starters are gone. So not only was Kansas defense bad last year, but they also lost a ton of production. So I like this matchup for Altmyer and the Illinois offense. I think they're going to have some success here. Keep in mind, like I said earlier, this is Jalen Daniels' first road game since September 16th of last year. Big conference game on the road. I think he might get off to a shaky start. I think that Illinois defense is going to catch him off guard. And then take a look at Luke Altmyer's first and second half splits from last season. In the first half of games last year, 68.5% completions, 7.6 yards per attempt, 8 touchdowns to 3 picks. Noticeably better than his numbers in the second half. So Jalen Daniels, first road start in the year. Illinois catching him off guard. Luke Altmyer throwing a couple touchdown passes early. We're catching 3.5 points in the first half. I locked it in. I bet it. I took Illinois first half plus 3.5. I also like Illinois to cover the number on the full game, but the bet I actually placed was Illinois first half plus 3.5. If you want to see all the bets I currently have open, head over to KyleKirms.com and click on open bets. You can see all my bets as well as everyone on the staff here. So if you're interested, head over there. Also, if you sign up for Sauce Network Plus, it comes with access to the Discord, and you can participate in the weekly betting league. $150 and one of our handicapping trophies go to the winner every single week. If you're getting in on week 1, you need to have your bets submitted on the website by Thursday. So yeah, head over to the website if you're interested in that. Live shows weekdays 4 p.m. Eastern time, weekends 10 a.m. Eastern time. Obviously Saturday is the big one, 10 a.m. up to kickoff. We'll go through every single game on the board. Let's have ourselves a nice week 2. Week 1 didn't go great for me, so definitely need to bounce back here. Remember to bet responsibly, and I'll talk to you in the Discord.